Team communication is key to your success as a CEO. Maybe you're still a solopreneur, but if you've been in your own company and you've had growth, you likely have developed a team of either direct employees or independent contractors. So I would always be on like business development calls and I'd be like, yeah, but like, how do I actually communicate with my team? And rarely have I found resources where people like dive into the nitty gritty. And so that's what we're going to do here today. So team communication, quick tips, grab a pen, grab a paper, let's go. So let me just paint the scene first. You are running a business and you are obviously having success because you have a team onboarded. And that's going to require some significant communication back and forth every single day. You know, hopefully not on nights and weekends, but sometimes then too. And I think one of the most challenging parts of having team and just maybe in life in general is communication. It's one of the last skills we've learned as human beings is how to communicate. And so recently I'll give you an example. We have 6 people on our team now and woohoo, I have so much support and so much love and they're all just amazing and darling. And I love them so much. They really, I appreciate them to no end. And you know what? Mistakes are going to happen. So first and foremost, I already want to dive into the tips, but let me just share a story because it'll help illustrate what I'm about to share with you. So we had some, balls dropped, some mistakes made, bound to happen while you're running a business. And I'll be totally transparent. My first initial reaction was I was so mad. I was like, oh, why mistakes with this client? Like, one of our favorite clients, we made a mistake. We dropped the ball. Again, bound to happen. But my first reaction was just to get mad and go into some not so great thoughts. And okay, fine. I'm human. So are you. You're okay. It's okay to get upset. It's okay to get angry, but then you got to put your leadership hat on ASAP, shift gears quickly. And so I was able to go into curiosity because usually when something's not getting done or mistakes are getting made, it's a system breakdown. There is a lack of communication happening. Either the person on the other end doesn't have what they need to complete the task. There are not enough checks and balances in place in order to, catch mistakes before they quote unquote go live or, before that next step is made. So what I did in this moment and what I suggest you do anytime anything happens that, you're not too thrilled about is to get into curiosity. Get into curiosity. We're humans. We're not robots. What happened? Come from a place of total and utter curiosity. So when this mistake happened, I immediately, once I regrouped and put my leadership hat back on, I slacked my team ASAP and said, I've noticed lately that some balls have been dropped, some mistakes have been made, and I'm just curious. I think we need to communicate better. What do you need from me? Number one, what questions should I be asking or what questions should you be asking me? Are the systems we're using making sense? We use Asana and Slack for a majority of our project management and communication. Like, hey team, what's going on? Everything's figure outable. Nobody's in trouble. Cause I think and I've been on the other side. I've been on team before and where communication wasn't always easy. And so I don't no one's in trouble. Like I like to just, I don't want anybody to think, oh God, and then they have their defenses up, right? So just drop all that. Let's figure it out together. Everything can be figured out, right? So that was my first thing. I was blown away at what my team rallied back to me. It's like, oh, this is what I do. And I don't always hear back. And I'm like, oh, that's because I never check that area of Asana. Interesting. Good to know. So, I mean, these are like little tidbits. And we had newer people on the team and people who are a little more seasoned. And so they like kind of know my mode of operation, right? And then some people who didn't know certain things. So all in all to say, I got curious. You should get curious as a leader with your team constantly, like not just like every once in a while, blue moon, oh, wait for a mistake to happen before you get curious, but get curious consistently and constantly. So, and ask those questions from a very non-judgmental, anything place, and really like open up the communication lines. It was a tremendous help for me in this situation to see where each individual was coming from. And everyone had some way of communicating what they needed from me. There was some overlap and there was unique situations to each individual, which I thought was so fascinating and kind of fun to see and uncover. And it's like, oh, okay, this works best for this person. This works best for this person. Here's what works best for me. And can you guys get on board with that? And everybody was like, yes, of course, which was amazing. So we're strengthening those leadership muscles when we're coming from curiosity versus like condemnation. Another thing that is tremendously helped develop the communication among my team members and myself is we used to hold monthly team meetings, and now we hold weekly team meetings. And it may seem like more effort up front, but it has helped clear up, and dissolve issues, miscommunications. And we have this constant touch base point where all of us are communicating. One, I'm not repeating myself over and over again, saying the same thing to multiple different people. So it's saving me time. And they get to communicate with each other. We're a 100% virtual team, remote team. No one comes to an office. So this has allowed us, if the social media manager needs to ask the copywriter a question, needs to ask the tech VA a question, needs to ask, the podcast producer a question, we're all there together, figuring it out together. Again, you can go so much further, so much faster with a team if you guys are all on the same page. So these weekly team meetings, they're only 30 minutes long. They are timed, they are structured, and everyone knows to come to the table with their week ahead priorities understood, what their goals are, and any questions they have for their whole week ahead. So all those can get answered and they can just hit the ground running, So this is hold weekly team meetings is what I'm saying. And keep them very concise. Celebrate your wins. Overview. I share our brand values on every single meeting. This is why it's important to know your brand values. So we have another touch base, a touch point of what do we stand for? How are we delivering? How are we showing up as individuals and as a company? And when people know those brand values and they are readdressed and touched on every single week, amazing. It's amazing. And then you get to lead your company from those brand values, and you get to lead your team from those brand values, and they get to lead themselves from those brand values. And then there's more alignment. There's more juicy goodness. Okay. So leadership hat on, coming from curiosity always. weekly team meetings with an agenda that's pre-done and everybody knows what the agenda is. You're talking about wins, you're talking about mission, you're talking about week priorities and goals and where you're at on those things. And whatever issues, questions, and things of those natures need to be resolved within that team meeting. Now, I'm giving you kind of like, I could go even more in depth with this stuff, but this is such a great place to start if you don't currently run weekly team meetings. Have I said it enough times to emphasize its importance? Okay, great. Another thing I love that I feel like not a lot of people do or know about, but is tremendously helpful for me, and I will just say this, my brain shuts down when I see large paragraphs of text, or if like a voice memo is anywhere above like 2 minutes long. My brain just starts to shut down. I like bite-sized, concise bits. And let's be honest, you are a business owner. You have a lot on your plate. You're probably very busy. If you're living by your calendar, there isn't, hours upon hours to like read lengthy Slack messages. So this is what I do with my team. I have them number a list. Let me give you an example. So say we're working on launching a masterclass. And say, or say there's like several things going on. This is why I like to number the list. So one question might be about the masterclass. One question might be about social media, and one question might be about a particular client. So rather than willy-nilly quick chats back and forth, I have them numbered. Question, or like number one, here's the question or here's the issue. Number two, here's the question or here's the issue. Number three, here's the question, here's the issue. Then I respond back. One, here's my answer. Two, here's my answer. Three, here's my answer. What happens when you put this in place is forcing isn't the right word, but you catch my drift. It's allowing the team member to get their thoughts really concise and clear before they just like start, writing away. And we use Slack, or we do voice memos sometimes too. Again, this is number one, even if they're leaving a voice memo, number one, here's the thing. Number two, here's the thing. Especially when it's written, you can get really confused on different points that are happening throughout the conversation. So when you do the numbered list, one always lines up with one, two always lines up with two, three always lines up with three. I hope this is making sense. Again, and it allows the team member and yourself to get very concise with not only the questions, but with the responses. We start new number lists like every day, basically. Just here's what's going on today. And then that list is done. And then we start again anew the next day. Try it. It is so much easier, in my opinion. So that's what we do. We do Slack messages and audio messages, but we number them out, each question in each particular area. Now, I also recommend tools like Asana is great for project management. And you really just need to know what works for you and then communicate that very clearly to each team member. And if they're starting to fall off track, you just got to remind them again. And this is just the nature of the business. So just to recap a little bit, come from curiosity whenever mistakes are made. Again, we're humans. We do it. I've made mistakes. My team has made mistakes. Clients have made mistakes. It's bound to happen. It's about how you deal with it, which is important. Have weekly team meetings with goals, with priorities, discuss problems and answer questions all together. So you save everyone a lot of time and a lot of heartache. Use numbered lists in your Slack messages or your messaging software, whatever you end up using, Voxer or whatever. Very, very helpful. Another thing to really nail down is plan ahead. Plan ahead. So I am notorious for having ideas and like being like, team, let's do it. And everyone's bandwidth, is different at different times. And, if we're already have projects humming, to throw another coal onto the fire is not a good idea. So really, when you plan ahead and you know what you're promoting and marketing and putting into place and implementing all at one time, it allows your team to prepare, to have space, to know what questions to ask. Here's another big one. The biggest problem I have personally in my business is taking the creativity and the ideas in my head and everything I know and getting them out of my brain and heart and out of my mouth so that the team knows everything I'm thinking, feeling, knowing what needs to be communicated when and how and all the things, right? So another really great thing to do in this area is to have what I call a dream to team process. In other ways, it's been called like maybe a project brief or a creative brief. So line up 5, max 10 questions that your team needs to know, and they can come up with these questions, you guys. They can come up with the questions of what they'll need to know for each and every project from you, and make it your dream to team process. Maybe I'll put a worksheet together for you guys of an example. How do you like that idea? So what is the project? Who's the project for? What elements need to be produced for this project? What kind of vibe is it? Like what create, like where do people need to be creating from in order for the magic of it to be communicated properly? So that, that'll help your copywriter, that'll help your designer, that'll help your podcast producer to know like what intro and outro you need. That'll help your social media manager know what to post to social. So you see how like having a dream in your head to team process is imperative. And you want to do that before anything happens. Answer those 5 to 10 questions. Here's what I want you to do right now. If you have a team, I don't care if it's just one person on your team. If you have 2 to 3 people on your team, if you have 50 people on your team, if you have 100 people on your team, ask each and every one of them, what are the 3 things you would need to know in order to successfully get started on a project? What are the due dates? Seems pretty obvious, but sometimes in our visionary creative state, we're not thinking about logistics like that, right? So have your dream to team process in place. Get those questions answered immediately before any work gets done on the project. This is going to save you a lot of time and a lot of money. A lot of overage hours, or if you have independent contractors and they charge hourly, this will save you so much freaking time and money. And it's like these little nitty gritty details about communication with your team that are so essential for your success. And you'll be able to start. I mean, the hardest part is not getting bored of your own process, because it's going to start to hum like a well-oiled machine. Doesn't that sound exciting? Doesn't that sound wonderful? So these are my tips for you. Your dream team communication quick tips. Come from curiosity. Know that your team is eager and willing and lovingly wanting to support you. And if they're not a right fit. You need to strengthen those leadership muscles. Always come from curiosity. Have weekly team meetings with a very specific agenda that gets followed. Like, respect your team's time as well. And numbered lists, man, that has been a game changer for me. Bite-sized, yummy, delicious, succinct questions. That's my jam right there. And then have your from dream in your head to team process of 5 to 10 specific questions that need to be answered for every project to flow and be created with ease and grace. So those are my tips for you today. I hope you've enjoyed them. Write a review, leave comments, all the yummy, delicious things. And I can't wait to be with you next time.